All right. Thanks for coming out to our little chat here, guys. I figured we start from the top, just like a little introduction, a little bit of our background. So, Noah, you want to go first, and we'll work this way?
Of course, yeah. I've been doing gaming for the past 10 years. I'm Noah Jones. I'm 22. Been doing it since 10 years old. I started off doing Roblox development, and I've continued, from there, and I made a career out of it.
Nice. Awesome. Alex?
Yeah, so I'm in crypto since ICO boom from 2017, and I was mostly a marketing guy. I was involved in a lot of ICO sales and previous bull run NFT sales. So I would be happy to share my experience, what we are doing right now. So as been mentioned. I am the CEO of UpEdge. We are developing games, mini games in Telegram, and the last case during this bull run is during this last 2 weeks we achieved 4 million users in Telegram mini games. So I would be happy to tell you more a comparison between previous bull run, where we had zero restrictions in Apple Store for the games, compared to this bull run, where we limited in our instruments to promote games and to work with audience to sell digital assets.
Awesome, awesome. And I'm Carl. Lifelong gamer nerd, probably the old guy on the stage up here, but I've been gaming since the 80s on Nintendo. I now own an agency where we do marketing and advertising assets, mostly focused in gaming, entertainment, and tech. So I'll be coming at it from that perspective more than a technologist perspective, but very cool. All right, cool. So from the top, how blockchain technology is transforming in-game economies. So a lot of these games back in the day, like even World of Warcraft or like EverQuest, there's robust in-game economies, and now we have this idea of tokenization of these things, where the value can now transcend outside of these economies. So how are you guys seeing that affect the gameplay?
Yeah. So I'm kind of coming at this from a different angle, right? I don't really do anything in the actual crypto space or the Web3 space with gaming, but I've actually seen a lot of that transform in the space, right? Like as I stated, I've made tons of games on Roblox. Currently, I have one of the top-ranked games, and what I've seen is a lot of developers are trying to figure out how we can bring that into the Roblox space, right? Because if we look at the Roblox market share in gaming, it's going up every year, and we're getting close to that 10% of gaming threshold, right? A lot of games at this point are being published on that platform for the younger audiences. So what we've been trying to figure out is, and this has been tested, and early on we kind of saw it, was where one of the developers brought in NFTs, right? And basically with the NFTs, you would get something in-game, which we're seeing a lot in the Web3 space now. But this was kind of early on in the NFT space. Didn't really go so well with the Roblox kind of audience, but we're trying to figure out how to kind of do that. So that's kind of the first part that I've seen. And from there, we've experienced a lot and we've seen a lot from the Web3 space. I'm sure you're going to talk a lot about it. Telegram has definitely been something to look at with what they've been doing. So it's trying to find out how to bridge that gap.
Okay. Did you want to chime in on that, Alex?
Yeah, I totally agree that maybe I would love to add that NFT and in general this digital assets, when it was when the world first seen it, it was a good example of ownership, that you don't need to prove anything with lawyers or with some middleman, and it's enough to have asset in blockchain to prove that you are owners, that it's your ownership. And that's the beauty in decentralization and blockchain in general. When you send money by crypto to somebody, you don't need, Visa or MasterCard or any payment provider to confirm this transaction in a centralized way. It's enough to see it in blockchain. And when I remember when it was the CryptoKitties and CryptoPunks in 2017,
yep.
Everybody reacted like, what the hell is that? It's a joke or something, you know? Nobody expected something serious from it. And the technology, what was behind that, it was huge. because as any great things, it's like a boom of dot-coms. It started from a boom, and it was really over-evaluated. And a lot of people came there for gamble, to buy the domain and sell it more expensive. And as you remember, everybody expected that this industry will go to nothing, will go to zero. The same thing is going on with the blockchain and gaming, like later on games. So we see the boom of technology, the rise of technology, and we see, on a very, very young stage industry where a lot of people don't understand how important this technology and what's the main product market fit, what this technology can solve. And as you said, it started with NFT. A lot of people came for this PFP NFTs to make some certain amount of X for hustle because they just see that some people do, some revenue in the short term. And then when they was not able to receive this extra margin from selling...
They didn't get rich quick.
Sorry?
Sorry, they didn't get rich quick?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the mistake, as I remember by myself. So if you come in for crypto, like we said, you come for money and stay for technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, we're seeing a lot of things evolve in the space, right? Like I just saw something the other day that Pokemon, right, is now taking their trading card game and making NFTs of their. So now you can trade and interact with digital trading cards, which is how a lot of us talk about it in the space to people that don't get it yet. Like this is a digital trading card, right? Like it's very straight one-to-one. I think huge brands like that adopting this is going to really shift the needle much quicker than we'd seen in the past. Because you're right, the first boom is all about cash grabs and people were excited, but it was the technology enthusiasts who understood what that CryptoKitty represented that really drove all that sort of stuff.
And I think one thing that he touched on that, I'm not fully in that space, but what I honestly have looked at and I think is amazing is the legal aspect, like you touched on, right? With crypto, that you don't really need to go to lawyers, like you said. You have that kind of guaranteed, and it just solves a lot of issues in that space, especially with gaming, where in a lot of these trends, you need to get right on it, or you need to get right to action with the development. And I think that solves it.
Yep, absolutely. So this sort of gets into the next subject on play-to-earn models, right? So it's kind of I think everyone at this point, even like your old grandma with her smartphone, is like playing Candy Crush. So like everybody's on some level. If they have a smartphone, they're a gamer now. Whereas like when I was growing up, like if you were a gamer, you were a nerd, right? Like and like that was condescending. Now it's like a badge of honor. Like now actually no shit, right? Like so I think this rise of this pay-to-earn model, as more and more of us are spending more and more of our time, even on phone games, if you're not a console gamer, but everybody's interacting as a gamer on some level for the most part, I feel like that's a safe statement to make. We're having models of games come up where people earn assets, whether it's a token or an NFT, so a crypto or an NFT. Have you guys seen some of that? How's that affecting people's ideas for developing things and communities and that sort of stuff?
Definitely, yeah. So I've seen parts of that, right? And I think the big thing for me, I think it's so early on in that aspect. I think the concept of it is amazing, but I think it also has to do with different cultures, right? Like I think we see here in the U.S., for example, they're not really onto that sort of gameplay yet, just because they're more into the fun aspect of it, or they're more into. I think there are different demographics go over different types of games, but I think more so in the U.S. we're still so focused on like the NBA 2Ks, the Maddens, and all of the mainstream games. Whereas in other countries, and I've seen it firsthand, that they don't care about the mainstream titles, and for some of them it is their job where they go into these games.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if either of you
or like
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you are familiar with RuneScape, but you would have
Yep.
the people in RuneScape like farming for money, right?
Yep.
So I think that's where that comes in. I've even seen it in some of my games. I mean, it's not really allowed, but
well, some of this, that's a great point. This stuff happens anyways, right? When
Definitely.
anybody invests a tremendous amount of time in a thing, as we always say in business, time is money, right? So I'm investing myself in this. It's like, well, I can buy some gold from this gold farmer and save myself, 20 hours of farming. Like, that makes sense. So these economies are already there. Now, to your point, they're legitimizing them now. If they have an exchange, these are actual assets that can be traded without the need of ethics and lawyers and all the things that would go into people stealing your money because it's on a blockchain technology.
Definitely.
So I think this is going to be a huge space for adoption because as long as people don't know that it's crypto, they don't care. They want to play Candy Crush or they want to play whatever. Well, what's the one with the crazy NFTs that like blew up? With the little derpy characters. It's like a turn-based fighter. Anybody know the name of this? Axie Infinity. There it is. Okay. So Axie Infinity, right? Like the game was objectively pretty good, right? And that's where we see a lot of this stuff fail, where like they're coming into it with a economics, tokenomics mindset, but they're not game developers. So the game sucks. No one wants to play it, right? The game's got to be amazing, and it's got to be seamless that it's crypto involved.
So to kind of go off of that as well, right? So I'm going to go back probably 5 years. I mean, I was 10 years old, right? So that's when I started. But I remember when Roblox, right? I'm sure everyone knows what Roblox is. It was the laughingstock of the gaming industry. I had multiple talks with developers at the time, that would make independent indie games, and they wouldn't call it real development, right?
Right.
And you're kind of seeing something similar with, Web3-based games, in my opinion, where people are looking at them and saying, "Oh, that's not the right, that's not a real game." But honestly, look where Roblox is now, and I think in the next 5 years, we're going to see a pivot with that as well, and I think more people are going to be going to that type of game.
I mean, I think 2021 or 2022, Gucci did a collab with Roblox.
Exactly.
Dropped a $5,000 Gucci bag. That was an NFT. I talked about this in my talk yesterday.
They just dropped Lamborghinis on there.
It's crazy. But
it's incredible.
So people are having more and more of a flex on their digital identity.
Exactly.
And these cozy games are going to be huge because that's where people are. That's where you start converting more into this Ready Player One stuff.
I would love to interrupt you.
Yeah, please.
Most of these play-to-earn games, if you buy some digital asset in play-to-earn games, you can earn some certain amount of money, and you have some API from it. I remember previous bull run, it was a huge, very popular game. It's called Steppen. I don't know who remember if you was able to buy NFT, and with this like digital sneaker, and you run or walk with this NFT and earn points. And depends of quality of this NFT, you earn different amount of cryptocurrency. So for example, you can buy one sneaker for $1,000, and you will have API something like, I don't know, 3,000%, 4,000%. Or you can buy, I don't know, NFT for $5,000 and earn like $200 per day. So, and a lot of people, they don't expect that this project will go down, I don't know, in a month or so. They calculate their earning by years, and the price of NFT growing up because they have a different revenue. And that maybe is the reason that these games, it's something like a merge between financial instrument, like kind of like stocks or something.
Yeah.
And a game like a fun. You can do a fun like I did sport and earn some tokens. So that's how we see different rates and different prices for this NFT. Of course, it was a crazy shit with this CryptoPunks or Bored Ape Yacht Club where they didn't really have any utility and or like revenue from it, and the price was crazy.
That's a great thing. You can add utility at any point, right? Which is what Bored Apes did. They just launched some cool apes, and now they've got licensing deals, and they're writing comics and stories and sharing royalties.
Yeah.
So that sort of stuff's pretty fascinating. And I think there's a space where that can happen in the gaming space too. You unlock some avatars or some sort of NFTs within the game, and now you have some sort of intellectual property rights to utilize those. And there's still lots of gray area in the legal aspects of that, just for the record. So
if I can butt in one more time on that, I think the way for that kind of gameplay to take over is what's already been happening, right? Where you're seeing these companies jump into these games and they're creating tokens on these games, and I think that's how you can get to the pay-to-earn sort of games.
Yep.
Where people are getting a little taste of it, where maybe they're getting some sort of token with their favorite game. I mean, if we look at Fortnite right now, if we look at a game like that, and they start rewarding players with tokens based on their favorite skins or avatars, I think that's exactly what the game world needs.
Yeah, I mean, and in Axie Infinity, there were people in the boom that were living off of their NFTs and tokenization through Axie Infinity. In less developed nations, obviously, where money went a little further, but that's really wild. So when you start to think about, as we get into a space with AI and all this technology boom and people possibly losing lots of jobs, like this almost comes like, hey, if we're going to be spending our time on these games and eyeballs are worth dollars, right? And you can implement some sort of economics there. And I'm not an economics person on the details of that, but it almost becomes like this could be some sort of base level income that people could generate all, and like as crazy as that sounds, but like, I don't know,
Of course, like that's you mentioned, like for the crypto game, it's important to be a good game. But in reality, what we see, why I decided and why I'm doing what I'm doing, like this Telegram mini apps, the current bull run, when we have a lot of restrictions in Apple Store, in Google Play, what happened with all this Axie Infinity and other NFT games? So Apple Store provided that it's not possible to do anything with crypto in their store. And in Google Play, you have to pay 30% commission on any purchase or on any deal inside the store. And a lot of crypto games, they lost a huge market. They decided to close their apps. And the current, I would say, meta of the current bull run, it's mini apps like Notcoin. I don't know if you heard about that, and Hamster Combat. Today they received approval for an announced listing on Binance. They have 240 million users. 240 million. It's not a game at all.
Definitely.
You just tap. You just tap on a hamster.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's gamified.
Yeah. And that's the problem. Why great gaming companies, they can't build a cool play-turn game, because they don't understand the psychology of these people.
Definitely.
They think the people in crypto that do crypto games, they think that they don't waste their time. They doing, like you said, doing some kind of job of something, like they spend their time to earn money, Doesn't matter that sometimes they don't earn anything. Definitely. And the token will be not launched, but they have a chance to not waste their time.
And I think, Hamster Combat, that's a prime example. If I'm not wrong, they said they were going to drop their NFT or tokens on September 25th or something like that. So I think seeing that's going to be a prime example of what the market looks like at that time, because that's going to be who everyone looks at, right, when they do that.
Yeah. So what we have now, with this Tone network and Telegram launch, and Telegram mini apps, you don't publisher of the games, they don't have to pay this huge 30% commission. You don't need to pay commission at all.
Okay.
You're receiving a huge, easy advertisement without any restriction like you do in Google or Facebook or Meta, or any other platform. So you can freely.
So Telegram's launching apps?
Yes, inside. That's what I'm doing, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Okay.
So apps inside in Telegram. And it's not, you don't need to be like iPhone or iOS. It's like inside in Telegram app, you have like a browser web app.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And if you write it in a JavaScript or some easy language, you can put it inside in a bot, and everyone can open easily on any device.
That's pretty amazing, especially because all of the communities, a good chunk of them are already in Telegram,
also, yeah,
right? So that's really great marketing. All right, so let's keep it moving to the next question. Implementing DAOs into game governance. So if you're not familiar, decentralized autonomous organizations. There it is. So loved it. I know, Alex, you said you had some thoughts on that. But let's throw that to you guys.
Yeah, so I think the way to go about that is if you go for more of, I like the aspect of it where it's more voting power, not really implementation of features.
Right.
I think using that as kind of a basis for getting concepts around stuff, I think that there's definitely a future in that. But overall, I think it's still, I'm interested to see how the future goes with something like that. It's, for me personally, it's, I like to control every piece of my games to make sure it's my complete vision. But on the upside, with other base games, I think that, it definitely makes sense. I think it really depends on the type of game as well, though.
Yeah. So it's really the decentralized kind of nature of blockchain, and that's the kind of backbone of it. What it does is build community, right? So it's your game, and you build it, but I think there's a space where you can set up things and have DAOs that are just like, all right, well, we're thinking about doing this, this, or this. What does the community want?
Okay, and they kind
right?
of
You know, I mean, so you can have limitations and guide rails on it versus someone taking it all over the map and something crazy, right?
You know, and to go off of that, I think that's smart because I think what I've noticed in a lot of the games that I've published is we have three different directions we want to go with the game. The community may like one more may be more feasible, and one honestly is probably more monetized, right? So to try and figure out which one they want most, which in most cases we know it's going to be the free one that they want.
Sure. Well, hey, look, you know, you build a good community, and that's something that lasts, right?
Definitely.
So when you go for the cash grab, you're taking short-term games that almost always bite you in the ass. So that's you got anything to weigh in?
Yeah, I mean, in general, like we see the cryptocurrencies and this DAO organization, you know, if you will open CoinMarketCap and like show me the real decentralized cryptocurrency or decentralized blockchain, not by definition by stakeholders that control some 51% or really decisions. So you will see that it's not so many, or maybe none of them, you know, really decentralized. And I would say this DAO, it's a great initiative. It's absolutely right things on a high level. But in reality, this DAO, it's illusion for the community that they have a choice how it will go with the game. That they can, you know, receive. That they can involve on the development side. But in reality, what I see, like you mentioned, Axie Infinity, it's Alameda Capital. It's absolutely centralized thing. I used to work with the Chromaway company, and they launched the most successful play-to-earn game on Binance in 2021. It's called My Neighbor Alice. It's absolutely centralized, you know. But they, of course, call it, this is a DAO. It's a cryptocurrency trade on the DEX. They have, you know, some digital assets. But, of course, they control supply, and they control all decisions inside and that. And they give to the public some opportunity to vote on some small things. And it's not bad and it's not good. This is a tough reality. If you crowd every time wrong, if you want to build something great, you have to make decisions by your own.
Yeah, I can see a world where a DAO set up in like a really extensive MMORPG, and you know, world events happen, and the DAO voting decides, all right, does this guy win, or this thing happens, and then these things transform, and then using, you know, AI models, you can develop these things much quicker. You know, potentially if you trained models on certain, you know, LoRa's and things of that nature. But I think that there's something there that's going to be pretty exciting. And I'm excited to see who does that right the first time and what that looks like. So, and that kind of leads me into this next piece here, virtual real estate, especially, you know, moving forward in some of these like cozy games. You have like Decentraland, like it's not really like a game, but it's like it's an experiential thing. You know, Sandbox, which is kind of like Roblox in some regards, and but you know, we saw a huge boom in the real estate, the digital real estate market, and seeing that, like, hey, the ones that were like closer to 000 in Decentraland, for instance, those NFTs that represented plots of land in that space were worth way more than the further you get out from there. And just like, so what are some of you guys' thoughts about virtual real estate and gaming moving forward? So
you see, one game that comes to mind that I think could really take advantage of that is GTA, right? So if you think about a game like that, where it's funny, no, but if you think about a game like GTA, right, where it's more centralized around different cars or stuff, but if you played like GTA 5, you have the different apartments and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of room for them to capitalize on something like that. And I think implementing stuff like that into games where it's not really based around actual real estate, that's how you're going to get players in that game as well, right? I think the whole idea is, I think there's one centralized sandbox game, if I'm not correct, that I've seen everywhere. And I think that's amazing, where it's, you know, it's just a map, and then people kind of buy different countries or different kind of, I don't know, parts of different countries, different areas. And I think that's really cool, but I don't see a game like that lasting long term, right? So I think if someone's able to implement a feature like that, or virtual real estate into a game that's already established, then I think it's, you know, the opportunities are definitely endless.
Yeah, I can see lots of marketing opportunities in that
Definitely.
space too, right? Like we have 100 million users or whatever, something crazy. Like, oh, well, most of those people physically travel through this spot in the game. Now I have an NFT that represents this billboard in that thing that I can lease out on a, like, it could get crazy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, in my space, I've already seen that a lot. I mean, I've seen a lot of the top games, which are more kind of like RP-based, where you're going to see these companies kind of come in. It's not really exactly them buying, well, it is them buying virtual real estate, but not in that same way, where they're seeing all the traction that these specific parts of these maps are getting. And I mean, some of these games are getting like 1 billion plays a year. Like, it's incredible. And what these companies are doing is they're seeing these, imagine like sort of like a town square. They're seeing a shop, kind of an unbranded pizza shop. Well, you're seeing like Papa John's, Pizza Hut, all of those companies see it, that they're seeing the amount of players that walk by that location, and they're saying, we can. That's a lot better than a billboard.
Yeah, eyeballs are dollars,
Definitely.
right? And people are investing their time there, and they want other people want their brands to be seen in those spaces. So we're moving into a more and more digital world, right? Like my son's 12. And he plays VR every day with his friends all over the world, and they build their own little VR worlds, and they hang out, and like they're just in spaces, just hanging out. Like, and I wanted to check this out the other day, so I was like, see what my kid's up to, trying to be a good dad. Put my VR on, I go in this thing, and they're like hanging out in this room, like watching movies that are like live in the theater. Like we had LimeWire. This kid can like flip through every anime and press a button and play a thing. And it's like they don't have the licensing rights to any of that. These kids don't care. They're just making this stuff. It's crazy. Like the community building that's happening in these spaces is unreal. Like my friends, my kids' best friends are all over the planet. Like that's a now thing. It's really wild. So, and that's the last point we can talk on over here just for a minute. Just community building. Is there anything? I know we've touched all around that, but so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to go off of that as well, I mean, I had the opportunity. There are a lot of developers that I've talked for like literally my whole career, right? And I went to my first convention on the Roblox scene. I finally met them all face to face, and it's so weird. It's like, it's so weird. Normally, when you meet someone, you introduce yourself and all of that, but it was such a different atmosphere where like you would hear someone's voice and you're like, is that them? And you would walk over to it and it'd be like a little awkward thing, like, are you this person?
Yeah.
It's just incredible, right, with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, even back when I was a kid, like we had like the LimeWire to download the music and stuff, but now you're seeing it for stuff like that when you literally have a TV right there. It's incredible to see.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Anything else you want to add in?
Yeah, I mean, if we are talking about games, I mean, especially in crypto community, is the most important thing and the most powerful thing that could boost your token and boost your game. In general, if you will see on huge brands, they have the core community why people use it. Like, I don't know, some crazy drivers around BMW, that like drift, and they don't care what will be the design of the new BMW. They care how this car will be how they will drive this car, And the same with the game. If you know your community and you know your core value, you will have a sustainable game, and you can do, I don't know, any pivots and changes, but you know that these people stand with you because you are closing the value and providing the value that nobody can provide. And most of like blockchain games, they forgetting about that. They are trying to focus on so many things. They're trying to provide like just trendy stuff.
Yep.
To have more people. They don't care to build a sustainable community around one product market fit. And I think this is what we should keep in mind when we build products.
And I just have one quick question for you because you're kind of the expert in that space. When do you think we're going to see the first mainstream game of that type?
Which kind of,
or just pay to experience kind of game. Like when are we going to start seeing something or a mainstream game of that type where you see everyone across the world playing a game like that? Like how Fortnite took over kind of the world for its amount of time. When are we going to see a game like that?
But
Will it be the next 5 years, 10 years?
The problem is, that the game we see these games right now. Maybe not in US. Like Hamster Combat is 240 million users.
Yeah.
It's like
so it's already there.
Come on, it's like several countries. It's like, I don't know, half of Europe. It's not small amount of people, but the problem is that they don't provide any. I don't see the value that they provide. It's motivational traffic. They just pay people for clicking.
Yeah,
if you're asking about some games like GTA, as you mentioned, when they will integrate some NFT stuff. Hopefully, I believe so. After this bull run with this MiCA regulation and all new regulations that we see, maybe huge developers, big companies, they will not be so many afraid about legal issues, and they will start integrating these things. Because previously it was truly like, Wild West, you know?
Definitely.
And a lot of big companies with a huge revenue, with, they listed on, on stock exchange. They, it was so early for them to integrate something like digital assets and NFT and crypto.
Yeah.
But now, after, when the industry became more development, more strong, more less young, I would say, then we will have a chance. Hopefully in 2-3 years, we will see this.
Yeah, it's like every crypto project now is just, we're waiting on good regulation, so. But we're out of time, guys, and we'll see these things blow up when we get some actual guidelines from our government. So.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, cool.